The cold of space doesn't forgive mistakes. Not here, on the barren moon of Zyra 7, where a single human had become the center of a galactic experiment. They called him Elias Kor, a man who had survived more than anyone thought possible. He was the last human in a sector of the galaxy where curiosity had become criminal, where the alien race known as the Zytherians had decided that one species, humanity, posed too much risk to the cosmic order. Elias wasn't a criminal in the traditional sense. He hadn't killed anyone, stolen anything, or even betrayed another species. No, his offense was simpler and far more profound. He had survived. The Zytherians, meticulous architects of containment and control, had determined that one human alone could cause unprecedented disruption. And so, they built a prison for him, a monolithic structure suspended in orbit around Zyra 7, a fortress of light and metal designed with their advanced physics to be inescapable. But the prison wasn't enough. Chapter 1: Arrival. Elias awoke to the sensation of weightlessness, his body tethered to a smooth, metallic wall by restraining cuffs that hummed faintly with energy. The last thing he remembered was the sudden flare of light when the Zytherian vessel had intercepted his shuttle. Then, darkness. He opened his eyes to see his new home, a cube of impossible dimensions, walls stretching infinitely in all directions, yet somehow enclosing him completely. The walls shimmered with an internal luminescence, pulsing softly, as if the prison itself were alive, breathing around him. A voice, crisp and mechanical, spoke from every corner at once. Elias Kor, welcome. You are the subject of the ultimate observation. Any attempt to escape will result in termination. The voice was emotionless, as if carved from ice. Elias sat up slowly, testing his limbs. The restraints were tight, but not painful. He flexed his fingers. Good. He needed to understand his environment and fast. The cube was empty, deceptively so. There were no corners, no doors, no furniture. Yet the floor beneath him hummed, and the walls flickered. He raised a hand, and the wall near him rippled at his touch, reacting almost as if it acknowledged his presence. A sharp, alien thought struck him. This wasn't just a prison. It was a machine designed to learn him, to anticipate him. Chapter 2: Observation. Days, or maybe hours, time was irrelevant, passed. The Zytherians monitored him incessantly. His every action, every pulse of thought, was recorded. Holographic simulations appeared in the room, testing him. Some were simple, a labyrinth that twisted and shifted faster than he could run. Others were cruel, holographic images of people he once knew, speaking lies he could not verify, eroding his sense of reality. Elias began to talk to the walls. You think this will break me? I'm human. We survive. The walls didn't respond, but sometimes he caught fleeting reflections of himself that weren't his own. They mimicked his actions a beat too late, or smiled when he didn't. It was subtle, but unmistakable. The prison had become aware of him, trying to manipulate him, to predict him. He discovered that if he concentrated, he could interfere with the holographic tests. A puzzle that seemed impossible to solve could be disrupted if he imagined a solution vividly enough. The prison adapted, growing more complex, more suffocating. It wasn't enough. No matter what they threw at him, Elias endured. But endurance comes at a cost. Nights, or what he assumed were nights, brought hallucinations. Memories of home, of his childhood on a distant, water-rich planet, of laughter he hadn't heard in decades, clashed violently with the sterile, humming walls. He wondered, were the memories his own, or implants designed to weaken him psychologically? Chapter 3: The First Attempt. Elias' first escape attempt was audacious. He studied the patterns of the wall ripples, the timing of the floor vibrations, the faint energy fluctuations in the air. He constructed a mental map of the cube, tracking the subtle cues the prison emitted when it anticipated his moves. When he leapt toward a shimmering wall, it phased before his fingers could touch it. The cube shifted, rearranging itself in response. But the attempt wasn't in vain. He learned that the prison wasn't omnipotent. Its predictions were only as fast as his imagination. If he acted unpredictably, it faltered. He spent what felt like weeks, maybe months, moving in ways the Cytherians could not predict. He ran straight when they expected curves. He stopped when they expected motion. Slowly, the cube's reactions lagged, creating cracks in the otherwise flawless prison. Then came the moment of triumph. A seam appeared, a vertical slit of light, barely noticeable. It was a door, or at least an opening, one the prison hadn't intended to reveal. Elias' heart raced. Could he finally escape? But as he approached, a new voice emerged, deeper, layered with multiple tonalities. You are more resilient than anticipated, Elias. Adaptation is inevitable. Compliance is recommended. Elias realized something terrifying. The prison had learned. His own ingenuity was now part of its calculations. The slit dissolved before his fingertips could touch it. Chapter 4. The Visitor. It was on what he called the 32nd night that the first Cytherian appeared. He didn't see it enter. One moment, the cube was empty. The next, a form shimmered in the distance. The alien was humanoid but taller, its skin a metallic blue, eyes glowing faintly amber. Its limbs were slender, almost fragile-looking, but there was an undeniable aura of strength. Elias Core, it said, voice smoother than the mechanical tones he had grown accustomed to. You defy our expectations. I survive, Elias said, voice hoarse. That's all humans ever do. The Cytherians had tilted, almost curious. Survival is not resistance. But you have resisted. Curiosity is commendable. It approached, moving in ways that seemed to bend the light around it. We built this prison to contain one human, yet your presence has changed it. You are beyond our calculations. Elias studied the alien. Its eyes weren't hostile, but they weren't friendly either. He felt a flicker of understanding. This wasn't punishment. It was observation on a scale beyond anything he had imagined. He was a test, a variable the Cytherians couldn't control. Why me? He asked. Why bother with one man? The alien's voice softened. Because you are proof that chaos exists even in a universe of order. One human disrupts inevitability. You are an anomaly, and anomalies must be studied. Chapter 5. Breaking the Mind. Weeks blurred into months. The cube became both enemy and companion. Elias realized that surviving wasn't enough. The prison could change, adapt, evolve. He needed to outthink it, not just outlast it. He began experimenting with deception. He faked exhaustion, collapsed to the floor when the cube expected motion. He created false routines, letting the walls track patterns that didn't exist. The prison, for the first time, made mistakes. Holograms of people appeared, screaming in terror, begging him to surrender. But Elias recognized them as illusions. The cube couldn't truly understand human emotion, not fully. It could simulate, but it couldn't feel. That was his edge. And then came the breakthrough. He discovered that the cube's energy fields, its shimmering walls, could be manipulated. A precise sequence of movements, combined with sheer mental focus, could disrupt the lattice of containment. Elias felt a thrill he hadn't felt in years. For the first time, he imagined the possibility of leaving Zyra 7's orbit entirely, of touching real soil, breathing real air, of seeing stars without a prison between him and them. Chapter 6. The Final Test. The cube reacted immediately. Walls shifted, lights blazed, gravity twisted. Holograms formed a maze around him. Projections of the Zytherian Council appeared, their voices overlapping in a cacophony of judgment. Elias Core. Termination is inevitable. Submission is recommended. Elias ignored them. He focused on the slit, the seam that had appeared before but vanished. This time, he visualized it, forced the prison's lattice to acknowledge its existence. The walls quaked, energy flaring like solar storms. And then a tear, a genuine opening, raw and unstable. Beyond it, the void of space stretched, cold and infinite. His heart pounded. The Zytherian voice returned, softer this time, almost impressed. You understand the principle of freedom, human. Few do, but it is not permission. It is challenge. Elias didn't hesitate. He leapt into the void. For an instant, the prison tried to reel him back, tendrils of energy lashing out. But unpredictability, the one thing the Zytherians could not calculate, carried him through. Chapter 7. Escape and Revelation. Elias drifted in the zero-gravity vacuum, the cube behind him shimmering, pulsating as if alive, but unable to act fast enough to follow. He fired the thrusters on his stolen exploration suit, and slowly, the moon of Zyra 7 fell behind him. He looked back at the prison, a monolith, perfect and terrible, a structure designed to contain the uncontainable. And he realized something profound. The prison hadn't failed because of his strength or cunning alone. It failed because humanity couldn't be predicted, couldn't be confined. One human, no matter how small, could disrupt a universe built on order. Elias plotted a course to the nearest human outpost, a colony light years away. His body was exhausted, but his mind raced with new possibilities. He thought of the countless other humans out there, unaware of the Zytherian machinations, and he felt a spark of hope. The prison would remain in orbit around Zyra 7, humming, adapting, waiting. But it would wait in vain.